There you go. There you go. So, two things to talk about here tonight. And number one is the NASA session on Thursday. Number two, Jaime Maussan in Mexico. Where does all of this leave us? Let's get, and I'm pleased to have him on here, Congressman Tim Burchett, the man who was the key figure in those hearings in Washington on the 26th of July. Tim, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, Howard. Really appreciate it.
So, Tim, look, here we are. We have reached a stage in the affairs of man. Now, you said, and I wrote down at the end of that session on 26th July, we made history today. Thank you, everybody, which was both gracious of you, and you made a statement that was actually true. I think you did make history on that day. Unfortunately, and I'm just some British journalist, so what the hell do I know? I don't think NASA made any history there with their session. What do you say?
No, I think NASA, if you read, I think it's a 56-page report, and I'm not knocking any of the bureaucrats, but I guess I am knocking them. The first sentence, it basically alludes that we need to study this, and of course that means more of our tax dollars. And I submit to you, we don't need any more tax dollars. Just turn loose of the files. Since 1947, the United States government, at least since 47, the United States government has denied existence of extraterrestrials and their craft and said it was all a hoax or a swamp gas or whatever. Now you're seeing polling nationally and worldwide that over half the people think we're not alone. So they smell dollars, and the war pimps at the Pentagon, they do the same thing. They are looking for more dollars, and that's exactly what they'll do. And you know, we don't need any more dollars, Howard. We need, or pounds or whatever y'all trade in over there. We just need the truth. Just quit with all the nonsense. Bring the files out, and I'm just going to keep pounded on them until we get that. I don't know if I'll ever get it. I probably won't, but I think it's important that somebody pulls the curtain back.
I think it is. I don't think that curtain was moved back 1 centimeter, 1 inch with the NASA hearing. And look, I don't want to diss NASA. I don't want to be here to be a cheerleader, which some people claim, you know, every week for some reasons of their own that I am. I'm certainly not. But it seems to me, I wrote down some points here from that session. And number one...
Wait, can I correct you on one thing? You called it a hearing. There wasn't anybody asking questions. It was a press conference. It was a pep rally, and brought all their people out to say that something's going on, send us some more money to study it. That's what that was about.
Yeah, I mean, look, I wrote down 5 points, Tim, and I'm kind of with you on this. Point number one, we're doing a fabulous job here. Point number two, we're the best to do this job. Point number three, we don't actually have any evidence that we found that UAPs are extraterrestrial, but boy, aren't they weird. That was point three. Point four, we can make partnerships with other organizations, and we can do nice long studies about these things. And number five, please don't feel, if anybody does feel anymore, that there's any stigma about this, because there's no need to. Now that, I don't know how long that session was, because I got so bored, I switched off at one point and went back to it. You know, the fact of the matter is, I don't think anything beyond those 5 points came out there.
And also, they didn't tell you who the new director was going to be, apparently.
No,
this
the
is
new
some
head
secret.
of UAPs.
It's supposed to be. They're keeping it secret, and I don't know legally if they can do that. We're going to look into it. I'll be in D.C. tomorrow morning, and I'll start working on that immediately, because I'd like to know who the heck it is, who he or she is, and what their credentials are, because you remember our intelligence committee in their public meeting brought these two out from the Pentagon, and they couldn't even spell UAP, much less UFO.
So what's going to happen? Because, look, an awful lot of people who I know got really excited about this NASA hearing, and I was trying to tell them last week, please don't get excited about the NASA hearing, because if you think they're going to roll out bodies, they're going to show you bits of metal that come from crash craft, that ain't going to happen. If you think it's going to be as impactful as the July 26th hearing, and there are people who email me and say that wasn't impactful, I think it was, but, you know, that's only my view. If you're expecting that, you're not going to get that. There were people who were saying that the president is going to stand up on the 5th of September, you probably had those emails too, Tim, and make a statement that we are not alone. That was not going to happen. So I think among some people, and I have to say, including myself, I'm becoming a little impatient with this. We've been built up to a pitch of excitement about all of this. We've been told to expect something. We were sort of told, although not in so many words, that September was the month. nothing much has happened. What do you think, apart from rattling those doors, which you are doing, is going to happen?
If you remember, we asked for a select committee on this, and my friend Matt Gaetz from Florida wrote that, along with myself, Representative Luna, and Jared Moskowitz, who's actually a Democrat. Three of us are Republicans. We're all dear friends, though. And this is a bipartisan issue. Wrote a letter to the Speaker asking for a select committee, which would allow us subpoena powers and some more powers, probably, to allow them to come speak to us in confidence, or be able to speak to us without retribution and have their attorneys present. Well, we were denied that. Speaker McCarthy told me in our meeting that he would, in fact, give us another hearing, which I guess will be news. We have to craft that meeting very carefully and how we get that done.
Does this mean, Tim, that there is going to be another hearing now?
Oh, 100%. And don't mistake that for a meeting with Grush and the skiff, which I don't know if it will or will not happen. That I just don't know. I mean, they fill up so many roadblocks. It's so ridiculous. And what they're doing is they're trying to channel us in one direction. So we'll just fold our cards and go with Chuck Schumer's plan about this new department at the Pentagon that will decide which files and which information can be released to the public, because they need that for national security. But guess what? Every single one of them will have national security implications, and they won't release anything of any value. Well, and they'll get more money to fund it. And that's what this is all about, Howard.
Disappointing, I think. And I think the NASA hearing was disappointing, and I started to think a thought that I didn't want to think. And the thought that I didn't want to think was that NASA only had to put on a show there on Thursday because a lot of money has gone into the study that they've done. And even though they're not really anywhere with it at the moment, they might get somewhere with it in the future. They had to stand up and say something, so there they did in that long session, but I don't think it did them any favors. I just want to play my viewers, and you too, Tim, I know you've seen this anyway, one more section from that NASA conference. James Fox, you know James Fox, he's a man who's very prominent in ufology, filmmaker, friend of this show, good guy, was there and asked a question about what would happen if NASA came up with any evidence. How would we be informed? He put the question better than I did just now, but let's see it.
Is there a plan in place if it is determined that some of them represent or originate from a non-human intelligence to tell the public? Is there a plan, or?
If we are what I said we intend to be, which is transparent, you bet your boots. We will say that. And I've tried to set the table for you by telling you what I personally believe in a universe that is so vast that could there be a replication of life on Earth elsewhere in another solar system that is so big? Of course I believe that. The distances, it would have to be a very advanced civilization. The distances, light years, hundreds of light years, billions of light years. But whatever we find, we're going to tell you.
And that is the note that I've got here for myself. Whatever we find, we're going to tell it. Well, that's very nice, but it seems to me, Tim, that you're working on a completely different level to that. You're working on a different agenda. You're trying to get this done in a different way. What they're saying, and as I say, I'm not here to diss them. I'm not here to wave a little flag for them. What they're saying, I was massively frustrated by that session. What they're saying is that we're going to do inter-agency partnerships. Citizen scientists will get involved. We're going to ask for people to make their reports. It's going to be all in. None of us knows how long that is going to take. Now, this issue that you and I have talked about for months, in fact, I was talking to you here in the UK before loads of people got on the bandwagon recently and started doing that. We've been talking all this year. This thing has reached the boil. It's what they call in cooking terms, it's a rolling boil. If it doesn't happen now or now-ish, then we'll still be excited about it. You'll still keep rattling the door about it. We're not going to go away or give up. But the public the people who are interested in this stuff are going to switch to Channel 2 because there's a good movie on there, and they're going to stop being interested. That's where we're at.
Yeah, I've said that. In America, there was there used to be an advertising for a pizza company, and they said you get your pizzas in 30 minutes or less. And I've often said that's about our attention span, mine included. It's the next shiny object we move on to, and there'll just be another one. And they want to run the clock out on this thing. I know what they're doing. They told me the main reason we couldn't have a select committee meeting was because we were stepping on the toes of the intelligence committee and the intelligence community. Well, sorry, I've got a job to do, and obviously they're not doing it. And the intelligence community is doing their job by keeping this all secret and by stopping legislation and putting up a roadblock everywhere we go. If you remember, I just had an amendment on the FAA reauthorization bill that just said if a commercial pilot spots something and they make a report to the FAA, they have to make that report to the United States Congress, and it was blocked. In the whip, the man in charge of the bills on the floor said that, in fact, the intelligence community had a problem with that, not the intelligence committee.
Why do you surmise, Tim, sorry to jump in, but why do you surmise that they would want to stop that? That is the most innocuous alteration to the way things are.
Well, it's power. And obviously our pilots, from what I've been told, our pilots are seeing things on a regularity and are being forced not to say anything for fear of losing their jobs. Clear and simple. They'll get pulled off the flight line, and our military pilots experience the same thing. They get a blemish on their record. It's just power. It's control. I guess when we get to the conclusion, when we find out what the heck it is, we'll know why they did it. But it's have to do with money. It has to do with money, and it has to do with power, and that's what runs this country and your country as well. It's what runs our government.
I'm coming to that for you, Tim. I'm coming to that for you, both sides of the Atlantic. What do you say to people who keep on, again, emailing me, who say that this is political? Whether it's Hunter Biden being investigated, whether it's Donald J. Trump being investigated, whatever it is, this is political. If there's stuff going down, then what do? We throw up an alien flap. We say, hey, there's all this political stuff going on here, but look at the aliens. No. Do you think that this is all being used as a smokescreen for other stuff? Is there something real going on here, is what those people are asking me.
No, it's not a smokescreen. It's not. I'm not part of it. If it was, this smokescreen was planted in my mind when I was about 7 or 8 years old. That's one hell of a deep plant. And I'm just, the only reason I'm the guy out front is because TMZ, I don't know if you see TMZ over there, but the guy caught me, there's a black fella, he's a buddy of mine, took him to lunch the other day. He asked me one day about this UFO report, and I'd just seen something on it. I said, well, it'll be redacted. I said, I have more holes in Swiss cheese. I said, more people believe in UFOs than believe in Congress. And then I put it on my T-shirt that I sell on my website. It sells pretty good, by the way. But, that's what started all. Then all of a sudden, I'm getting calls from people all over the world like yourself. TMZ puts it out. It gets picked up on the wire, and it's all over the place, or the internet, or whatever you want to call it. And that's why I'm the point man on it. And I like a good scrap. I like a fight. And this is obviously a cover-up of some degree for some reason. And, it's got everything there. You got the Pentagon. You got NASA. You got the bureaucrats in Washington. You got the committee staff that you got members of the press involved in covering this thing up. It's just all across the board. Well, and the American public and the world public's not buying it, frankly. And you were talking about the thing in Mexico. That is a diversion. That guy was apparently, from what I heard, I've read, he was involved in another thing where they had these poor little
there's a lot of
babies
scuttlebutt online about things that may or may not have happened in the past.
Yeah. I'm not worried about all that.
And I have to say that Jaime Maussan, the man behind that, we don't have him here to talk for himself, but we have tried to get him on multiple times, and we can't reach him. We've tried, and we've tried through his, email addresses and contacts.
Well, you would think someone of your stature, he would be more than happy to come on and talk to you regardless.
Well, again,
I'm going to be...
I have to sit there and be Mr. Ringmaster here. I've got to be Barnum and Bailey's circus, the man in the middle. But I have to say that if you had alien bodies, here they are. Here's an alien body.
Yeah.
I've got it here. This is thousands of years old. It came from Peru originally, and it's, it's not a bottle of water. It's the body of a real alien from real space. What would I do with it? Well, I don't think, as much as I love Mexico, I would take it to the Mexican Parliament or whatever committee that was. I would say, I've got 2 of them. One of them I will send to Oxford University in the United Kingdom. One of them I will send to Harvard or Stanford in the US, and I will say, give your best science, their best spectrometers, CT scanning machines, everything you've got, analyze them, and then we go public with the greatest story ever told. That hasn't happened. So that's my take on all of that. I still think, Tim, look, we're at a very exciting time. I'm grateful to you for talking with me and for talking with me before you talk to all of these other people who are stampeding down your door, who perhaps don't understand as well as we might these issues. They're saying, I want to get on board with this and I want to ask you questions. Right. Last question. Last of these questions, Tim. I don't expect you to, because of what you are and where you are, I know that there's a lot of stuff you cannot tell me, okay? Because you've got to take oaths and there's a lot of secrecy. But do you know things, do you suspect things that were they to be made public and were you able to make them public would swing this thing to making people finally see, yes, the truth is that we are not alone and here's the proof? In other words, do you know the truth already?
There's things I can't talk about, but yes, there are things I can talk about and we've talked about, and I say yes. I've been privileged to see things that a lot of the folks haven't, and I just wish they would. I wish we could get it out, and that's what I'm working towards, Howard, and we'll just keep pushing it. And I would hope folks, I'm on Twitter all the time, at Tim Burchett. I've got an official one, but that's my cool one. That's the one. I got close to 100,000 followers, and we put stuff out all the time. Some of it's political. Remember, I'm conservative, but we don't have to agree on everything. But we can. This is one issue. I think it's just across the board. We need answers on, and I just don't believe we need to get our government's checkbook out to get those answers. I think they ought to be telling us the truth. And this NASA thing is a perfect example. You say announce you've got a new director, but you won't say who it is. And that tells me again where we're at in this whole thing.
I think we need to be knowing that name pretty soon. That was not a great PR move not to name the person there, and then God knows why they couldn't. Very finally, in 15 seconds, if you could do it, Tim, for those who will email me and will message me tonight calling BS on all of this right now, saying we haven't seen the proof, it's not going to happen, what do you say to them? Keep the faith?
I do, and I say, you're not going to, with AI, I don't, nobody's going to, everything's going to be suspect from here on out until one lands out here at my house in Knox County. It's not, I'm not going to, there won't be full believability in this thing, but I got faith. I haven't seen God, but I believe in him. I pray to him about every little bit. I believe in Jesus. I believe he died on the cross for my sins as much as I do anything in this world. But I've never seen him. And so I have faith that this is real. I've talked to too many people that why would they throw away their careers over this thing? And why are they risking their careers right now to do it? I think there's something going on, and I think that we deserve to know, and I think we can handle it. And I do not trust a government that does not trust its people, and that's what we have worldwide right now.
Well, there you go, Tim. That is the $64 question, isn't it? Why would people put their careers and their lives in some cases on the line? Tim Burchett, thank you very much. Take care.